Hang on, I got to get my glasses.
It's okay. Squeaky chair, Matt's gonna edit out my squeaky chairs.
All right, okay, I got my glasses.
Sorry.
That's good. That's staying in. L337.
That's it. Okay. Shoot. Hold on. And now my stupid headset is being dumb again. Sorry.
Okay.
I'm putting you to work on editing today.
Part of Double P Media. DoublePmedia.com.
Spoiler alert, when this podcast talks about the books of his Dark Materials, it does so in the context of the most recent book. And when it talks about the television show on the BBC and HBO, it does so in the context of the most recent episode. You've been warned.
The Dust.
I am chomping at the bit, and at the same time, I feel like all of the words are frozen in my mouth. It has been way too long since we talked to his Dark Material fans. Welcome back to the Dust Podcast. This time around, we're looking at some news regarding Season 2, as well as the Comic-Con 2020 panel, which was virtual, and the Season 2 trailer. My name is Matt Murdock. I am one of your hosts, and I am joined by the host who actually knows something about this series, and that's Holly. Holly, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Matt. It's nice to talk to somebody that's not the people I live with or the people I work with for a change. Hooray, quarantine and these unprecedented times. So I'm glad to be back and talking to you about this. The trailer was really exciting. Let's get into it.
Let's get into it. We're going to be talking about a little bit of news regarding Season 2. The first bit of news is, of course, that Season 2 will be here this fall. Amidst a 2020 pandemic, they did manage to film almost everything. We'll talk a little bit more about that here in a second, but they did manage to film almost everything, and we'll have the complete story of the second book entitled The Subtle Knife in Philip Pullman's His Dark Materials series will be presented on TV sometime in the late fall of 2020. So we're looking forward to that. It will once again be on BBC and on HBO. We will be talking about the Comic-Con panel, and we'll be looking at the trailer as well. Holly, I want to start off with a little bit of news first. The first bit of news is actually on Monday. I reread The Subtle Knife. I sat down and watched it, or watched the trailer, and then I reread the book. And then I watched the trailer again going, oh, that's that. Oh, that's that. Because it had been well over a year since I had read this book, so I needed to refresh myself. So it was good to know that we're actually going to get a series. It was good to know that it's something to be excited about, if this trailer is any indication. Have you been following any of His Dark Material news as we've been going along?
A little bit. As an an essential employee, I've been extremely busy at work, so I'm fortunate that I get to leave the house every day, but unfortunately, I don't get to enjoy all the binging and the relaxing and having time to think about my favorite leisure activities as I normally would, because we've just been incredibly busy at work. So just here and there, Twitter stuff, I got the news about some of the castings. That's really exciting. Did just watch the Comic-Con panel today in order to prep for this podcast, but I was looking forward to watching it. I just was really struggling to find the time. It was nice to have a reminder of like, oh yes, something I love coming back in the fall, something to look forward to, since all of everything I was looking forward to this year pretty much was canceled. So yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, and we want to hear your thoughts. At this podcast, we don't take any money. Holly's very mad at me for not paying her something to endure sitting for an hour with me or so. But we don't take any money. What we do require in terms of payment is your feedback. We need you to send emails to dustpodcast@gmail.com. We need you to tweet to @TheDudpod. the Dud Podcast, at the Dust Podcast on Twitter. We need you to go to mattsaudioblog.com, and you can find all of the links there, as well as all of the episodes of this podcast and many other podcasts that I do, which is also part now officially of the Double P family of podcasts. Double P, you say, what's that? Well, that's a group of people who actually I used to have as guests on my Game of Thrones podcast Winterfell. This guy Bubba used to call in, and he was very smart, and he was also very funny, and he decided that I knew nothing about that series, and so he went and started his own podcast called the Joffrey of Podcasts, and now has grown it into this huge podcasting network, which is going to be covering upcoming Lovecraft Country. Also, if you check out Delightfully Dreadful, you'll hear his partner Catfish and I talking about Penny Dreadful City of Angels. Recently covered Dark, the final chapters, the final cycle of that series with the Wind and Caves podcast. And Holly, it looks like possibly, if you can join us from time to time, me and you and Bubba will be doing a podcast about The Crown on Netflix called Podcast Lilibet.
So, by extension, I'm now part of the Double P network. I should be not berating you for money, but I should be rating Bubba for money. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying, if Bubba's got money to give, take it.
Okay.
Please do. But I will not ask Bubba for any money, nor will I make any money for Bubba. So, that's the way it goes there. Now, Bubba is going to be joining us for Podcast a little bit. I'll be covering the music in that one as well. And our composer for this series, His Dark Materials, Lauren Balfe, he actually did season 2 of The Crown also. So we can have a slight connection there. That'll be fun.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's awesome. Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah, so it's really great that maybe I can get Mr. Balfe to join us, not only for our season 2 music podcast this year, but also for some podcasts regarding that. Anyway, if you want to find out all about the Double P, then you need to follow on Twitter, on Instagram, on all social media at the word double, the letters PHQ. That's at the word double, the letters PHQ. You can tell it's been a while since I did any talking because I can't seem to talk. That's all of the business for this podcast. Let's get on to talking about the news. As I said, I had read the book recently. There's a little bit of new casting because they've done all of the filming. I'm assuming that this casting is late because it will be a voice actor. This is Sope Dirisu. I hope I pronounced that name correctly. If I butchered it, I do apologize. But he is an actor, and he is going to play one of the witches' demons. So that should be fun to hear. The actress who is playing one of the witches, named Ruta Scotti, is said, "Look at Ruta Scotti's demon," and retweeted the His Dark Materials tweet with a quote that from the book that hopefully will be used in the series proper, as Sope Dirisu is going to be one of the demons cast. Just on that note, because we have seen Andrew Scott as Will Perry already, one interesting thing that fans might find is that he is going to have a demon as well. And we don't want to relate exactly why in this TV-only portion of the podcast. We can talk more about it in the book section if we wish, but that'll be after the end credits. Holly, you understand the connection between the actress who is going to be voicing John Perry's demon and Andrew Scott. Is that correct?
Yes. This was the most exciting news for me about season 2 of His Dark Materials. Was they announced during the Comic-Con panel that Phoebe Waller-Bridge would be playing Andrew Scott's demon, the voice of his demon. And if you've never seen a show called Fleabag, I highly, 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 highly recommend it. As a 30-something woman, it's very relatable to me. It's one of the best true female character portrayals I've ever seen. The show is hilarious and heartbreaking. It's incredible. I binged both seasons in a day because it's a British show, so shorter episodes, shorter seasons. It's totally doable. You just need to have Amazon Prime. Spoiler alert: Andrew Scott is in the second season, so you get to see their chemistry, how great their chemistry is working together on that show. So it was super duper exciting for me to see that she was going to be the demon for him in this show. And if you don't recognize her from Fleabag or know that show, you might recognize her voice from Solo, a Star Wars story where she plays Lando's droid friend L337, and that character is amazing. If you're like me and like all the droids, you know how awesome she is. So yeah, Phoebe Waller-Bridge is amazing. Check her out.
Yeah, I think that I know her from that. I don't know her from Fleabag. I might have to check out Fleabag, even though it doesn't sound like my kind of thing.
The way I described it made it sound like a woman show, but it's really not. Like, it's for everybody. I liked it because it was a very relatable woman character that you don't often get to see. So that's what I appreciated about it.
Well, that's cool. And like you mentioned, it was brought up in the Comic-Con panel, and we're going to get to that in just a second. I just wanted to say that on August 4th in Region 1, whatever you kids, whatever format you're getting your stuff in today, because I don't have any idea. I can barely keep up with DVD and Blu-ray. I got the Blu-rays of His Dark Materials, which were released on Tuesday, August 4th. And there are some special features of it, Holly. Most of them I feel like were part of the extras that HBO put up, like on HBO Go and what have you, probably available on HBO Max as well. I'm not sure. But some of those features, there's 2 discs. You get 4 of the episodes on one disc, 4 of the episodes on the other. And some of the special features, as my eyes are trying to adjust to this very small print: adapting His Dark Materials, building His Dark Materials, dressing His Dark Materials, the demons of His Dark Materials, a segment on James McAvoy, bringing Lord Asriel to life, a segment on Lin-Manuel Miranda, bringing Lee Scoresby to life, a segment on Ruth Wilson, bringing Mrs. Coulter to life, and a segment on Daphne King, bringing Lyra Belacqua to life. And then also one other one, and this one is all alone on the second disc, which makes me think maybe it's longer. I have not yet seen it, but it's called Making His Dark Materials, so maybe that's a little bit of a longer one. I do feel like all of those other ones, though, like they were just one thing that went along with each episode that you got if you watched this series on HBO Go. Not sure. Or maybe it was something that was added to the BBC shows as well, to their iPlayer.
What about the commentary? Does it talk about episode commentary and who might be having discussions on the commentary?
I'm not seeing anything regarding commentary on this.
Gasp.
Gasp is correct. I don't know. Given that this is put out quite a bit later, I suspect it was supposed to be released, sometime probably around March, April, somewhere in there. Usually it's just like 3 months after a series concludes. And I'm betting that because of the pandemic, they just really didn't have time to do anything like that.
Sad.
Yeah, very sad. Maybe we'll get something better for season 2 once it's completed. But we haven't even gotten there yet. And we did get a Comic-Con, which they talked about season 2 quite a bit. One of the things that they told us was that there will only be 7 episodes of series, but it does contain the entire story of the second book, according to Jane Tranter. The Subtle Knife, it will have that entire story as part of it, or wherever they wanted to go with that story. That the story on its own is complete. They had set to have a standalone episode featuring Asriel, but the pandemic is what kept that from completion. And we were assured, once again, by Jack Thorne and Jane Tranter, that this missing episode will not have any effect on the overall story. It was more of a supplementary, and the full story of the Subtle Knife is conveyed in those 7 episodes, which if you've read the book, and we don't want to spoil you about any book stuff here, this is a TV only part, but if you've read the book, you will notice the absence of Azrael mostly. And I guess this was to kind of fill in the gaps.
That's what it sounds like. And the show has already done this a little bit in season 1 by kind of giving us a little bit more a view of like what Mrs. Coulter was doing in the first book, because the first book is only Lyra's perspective. So I like how the show has been already expanding on what's inside the book by kind of giving us added scenes with Coulter and also Boreal. And this sounded really intriguing to see what he's been up to, and because we don't see in the book. And Azrael gets stuff done. I would have really liked to see him get stuff done, and what sounds like it would have been a nice little standalone bottle episode. That'd have been really fun.
Yeah, well, you just spoke of the further exploration of Mrs. Coulter in season 1, but there was something else that Ruth Wilson said that seemed to catch your attention about season 2 at the Comic-Con panel.
Yeah, just the word she used to describe what season 2 Mrs. Coulter would be like. Just kind of like getting underneath her circumstances and what she's had to deal with, and the sacrifices she's had to make, and what she basically chose over her daughter. And we all get an idea of that when you get to the end of the trilogy, really, but it will be nice to see more of that, like firsthand from her perspective and what she actually has to face day to day. I don't know. I just thought it just made me like, okay, I'm back in with Mrs. Coulter again. And I don't know, maybe we'll have a segment this season where like, Coulter, do we love her or do we hate her this episode? Because we're so back and forth on her, and she's terrible, but you also just feel for her at the same time. And man, Ruth Wilson just kills it, and she makes you feel the feelings even more complicated because of how she makes you feel about her. It's incredible. It's incredible acting.
And I think I agree with you. It's great that the writers took the time to explore that a little bit, because Ruth Wilson, no matter how good she was, if she was written in a way that just made her just total black hat, which would have truly offended, I think, just about everybody. But if they would have made her that way, where she was just totally black hat, then it doesn't feel nearly as compelling a story to me for television. So
right, and not to reiterate something I know we talked about during season 1, but it just brings up Cersei Lannister feelings all over again. Especially season 1 of Game of Thrones, you get a lot of added scenes with Cersei and Robert, or just more Cersei scenes than you get in the book that kind of paint a picture of who she is, but it's not exactly what you get from the book, but it all seems to fit and make sense too. And they I think the showrunners of Game of Thrones did a great job with that with her, and it just feels similar, like they're kind of doing a similar thing here, and I'm not mad about it at all.
Any other tidbits from Comic-Con from you?
I had no idea that the actor playing Father McPhail was Daphne Keene's dad. We didn't discuss that last season, did we? And I just forgot, because I'll feel dumb if we did. But I was just like, whoa, that was a surprise. And he was just there all along.
No, we did not discuss that at all, because I didn't know that either. But the actor's name that plays Father McPhail is, in fact, Will Keane. And maybe if we'd have just looked at some credits and put 2 and 2 together, we would have come up with that ourselves. But I had no idea whatsoever. So that was a nice little surprise for me as well when I watched this. Any disappointments about the panel? I think you and I talked before we started recording about some disappointments. For me personally, I would rather have had more, because I'm not the kind of person that enjoys embracing stardom or anything like that, but I'm more of a meat and potatoes guy. So if we could have had a separate panel with just Jack Thorne and Jane Tranter, I think I would have been much more involved in that, because I'm much more of like the production guy. Where's the standing on the special effects? Where are they gonna? How did they overcome this terrible pandemic so that they could get us some good stuff? How much is left to actually do visual effects wise? How is the story adapted? And I guess we'll get some of that stuff in the Blu-ray as well for season 2 when it comes. But those are the kinds of things that I would have liked to had more of, rather than Well, yeah, we have a nice lunch, during filming between some of the actors. That just didn't work for me.
I liked some of that stuff they talked about with each other. I liked Lynn and talking about how him and Daphne like clicked by speaking Spanish with each other, and that was kind of how they bonded. I thought that was really sweet. I liked how it seemed like Lynn and Andrew had a really good time filming together, and they had their way of like sharing each other's culture with each other. That was fun for me. I enjoyed that. I think what I enjoyed the most about that is seeing that they get along great. I'm a person that just likes people to get along generally. I'm non-confrontational. I don't like a lot of drama. So, I mean, except in my TV shows, but like in real life, I don't care for that. So just to know that they were happy working together made me happier as a viewer to enjoy their work. That might seem silly to some people, but that totally works for me. But to answer your question, what I missed from the Comic-Con panel was like the most Comic-Con panel-y thing of all, which is questions from the audience and questions from the viewers. And watching the recording of the panel, I think there was some online like live Q&A that they were, that they probably did and over Skype, and I just didn't witness it. But I like that, the questions from the audience, because there's always going to be, you're going to have some of your same generic questions that get asked over and over again, but there's always like one fan that has a really great question that brings out some, just really fun, great answers from the panelists. And so just kind of missing out on that aspect of it. Didn't really feel like Comic-Con. It just felt like a short little interview, I guess. So not really real Comic-Con vibes for me, but it was fine. I'm glad we got it. I'm very thankful that they did it, and we got to see very slight glimpses of what's coming in season 2. They also didn't talk about anything new. Like, they didn't talk about any of the other new characters, like even by way of introduction. So I don't know. That I could have used a little more of. I know they don't want to spoil anything, but at the same time, I don't know. I really feel like people that are really big fans of this series are also big fans of the books and maybe would like some of that information.
I think that that's probably the case too, and we've already talked about Ruta Scotty and her demon, but that's a much more prominent role in this particular season or book that we haven't really embraced before, and it was a shame that we didn't get to meet with Jade Anuka at all, because she's a really intriguing actress to me.
Or Phoebe, even though they kind of announced it there, and or Bella Ramsey. Like, they didn't even mention Bella Ramsey, who is going to be playing a girl named Angelica that we are going to meet this season. Is that a spoiler? I can cut it. You can cut it because you're the one that edit. But yeah. But that's super exciting too, because we're both, we both coming from Game of Thrones. Like, that's such big news for us, and exciting to see that awesome, amazing actor come in and have a role in this this next epic series.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything else about Comic-Con before we move on to talking about the trailer, which probably revealed more than the Comic-Con did about anything coming up?
No, I think that's pretty much all I got. I think we touched it all.
All right, so we are going to do this from a book-free perspective. We're not going to talk about where we think they are. I have put some spoilers in parentheses in my notes here, but I will not say them, I promise you. I will put the link. You can find the trailer at the HBO YouTube. I'll put that link in the show notes for you to watch yourself in case you haven't seen it. If you haven't seen it, where the heck have you been? I mean, we're all sitting at home, or at least some of us are sitting at home, and there's no reason not to have seen it, but I'll put the link in there anyway. And we start off with just a series of shots of this world that you can deduce right away is neither Will nor Lyra's world. Remember, season 1 ended where she was walking somewhere and he was going somewhere. And we didn't know what was going to happen as TV viewers But in this trailer right here, you get this line of dialogue from Will saying, "You're not from this world, are you? Neither am I." So both of them have evidently ended up and possibly met in this world that we kind of see in the opening shots that looks very different from either of the worlds that Will or Lyra were coming from. It seems like it is, to put it in our world context, more Mediterranean. Does that seem right to you, Holly?
Yeah, that sounds pretty accurate to me.
Yeah.
It's kind of how it's described in the books, too. Maybe not with using the word Mediterranean, but it looks the way I imagined it. Like, they did a great job, in my opinion.
I think so, too. Then we go to Mrs. Coulter, who says there are multiple worlds out there and people will be looking for her, not all of them good. There's shots of this great beam of light at the top of the mountain. There's Lee Scoresby, and I think it was Will's father, played by Andrew Scott there. They were in the balloon. You have a shot of Lyra walking through the woods. You have a shot of the golden monkey. You have, man, I want Mrs. Catfish and I, when we were covering when we were covering Penny Dreadful City of Angels, we were talking about Sister Molly's wardrobe because it was amazing. And instantly I thought of Mrs. Coulter when we were talking about that show. And now, man, the stuff she's wearing in this trailer is fantastic. Whoever does the design, the costume designing for this show is amazing. I got to say that.
I would agree. And then I know we just ended our segment on the Comic-Con panel, but I watched that and she looked amazing. She looked like Mrs. Coulter just in the Comic-Con panel too. To me, it was fantastic.
Yeah, maybe it's just Ruth Wilson who just makes every piece of clothing she puts on look great.
Does she even need costume designers? Who's to say? Probably not.
There's no need to design me anything. I'll just fish something out of my closet and show up on set.
That's how they save money on the budget and give us great CGI polar bears.
Exactly. Then we get Boreal saying that he's found her, and I don't know if that who he's looking for there. We can assume maybe it's Lyra that he's talking about. The troubled times call for Magisterium to take control, and there is Daphne Keene's father, Will Keene, as Father MacPhail, and he's doing something, and then we have witches in the woods. You can stop me anywhere you want to say something, Holly. We then have Scoresby, and he's looked like he's been beat up, and he says he swore to keep her safe. It all feels like it's talking about Lyra. Then Scoresby is at gunpoint, and then Will Perry's dad is talking about the knife that would cut between worlds.
Subtle.
Yeah. Yeah, that was real subtle, wasn't it?
Very subtle.
Then we have Coulter and Will in a tub, who also looks beat up. And then Lyra saying everyone is connected, and that's happening as we see Lyra is running. Then we have Lyra, how do you know about me? Which is a woman, and a shot of the alethiometer and Lyra holding it. And this same woman is asking this question is at a lab of some sort. There's all kinds of machinery and glass and all that kind of stuff. Then there's the phrase, the time has come to act. And it looks like there's a bunch of witches around, maybe a witches' council of some time. I believe we have no choice. Scoresby and Perry, that's Will's father, are in the woods somewhere in there. I kind of got my things mixed up, so I don't know exactly what order all of that comes in.
And I know you want me to interject, but I have a really hard time interjecting because the things I do recognize are, I don't know, I'm going to spoil something. I don't want to do that.
Yeah, we'll talk about some of that stuff in the book section at the end of the podcast. But
feelings.
People are afraid of things they don't understand. That's a shot of two girls. It looks like they're in that Mediterranean setting. A witch flying through some kind of compartment. horizontally, straight at the camera. Then Lyra.
I will say I thought that was something else, so we talked about it before we started recording, and I'll talk about that in the spoiler section. I thought it was, but I was wrong. Matt was right.
Maybe you were wrong. I don't know. I'm pretty sure I was right on that one.
I think you were too. Sorry.
Then we have Lyra falling to the floor. A strange-looking hooded being, witches maybe. Also after that. Then we're back at the Magisterium, and Mrs. Coulter at a candle. Looks like Will is holding a knife on Boreal, but Boreal seems to be overpowering him in a way. Scoresby is aiming a rifle from behind a boulder. Two people look like they're about to run or fall through some kind of stained glass window. Then there's the phrase, "These are strange new times," and that's all while Mrs. Coulter is walking down this hallway, which some may recognize.
I was going to say, she's really good at walking down hallways.
Man, she's so good at walking down hallways. Will and Lyra are shown again, and it looks like Will has been in a fight once again. Will's dad is at a door. There was a hat there in the foreground, so I'm assuming that was Lee Scoresby, since there's a lot of shots with the two of them together. Witches holding their hands over Will is what it looks like to me in the next shot. Then there's Seraphina and another witch, and then Boreal's at a door. Scoresby's on a boat. There's a picture of a knife. There's a picture of Lyra and Will. I think it's Will holding a knife at the end. All of those shots happen very fast sequentially as the music builds. One thing I can definitely say is this is not Lorne Balfe scoring this. This is BBC library stuff. He always lets them do their first trailer by themselves. He has not even recorded any music for season 2 yet. His last tweet, which was just last week, says, "Can't wait to get in the studio," and when the trailer was being released after Comic-Con, "Can't wait to get into the studio and record some of the stuff I've written." So they know what's coming up, but none of it's been recorded yet. Any general TV spoiler-free thoughts about the trailer?
Spoiler-free? No. I mean, it got me excited for season 2. It's nice to see these characters again. I still think Will is adorable. Just so precious. Lyra is also precious. Ruth Wilson / Mrs. Coulter is amazing. I'm just ready. I'm ready for Andrew Scott to have an actual role instead of a picture and a YouTube video that we saw from season 1. Mm-hmm. And man, and there's so many other things I'm excited about that I can't mention in this section because this is spoiler free.
Yeah, well, a lot of the things that I really liked about it, aside from the fact that Lorne Balfe hadn't got a chance to score anything yet, I didn't like that, but that was really my only negative. I thought everything looked beautiful. I thought everything was cut in a way that didn't give too much away, but if you were a book reader, then you knew what that was, what that shot was, what this was, what that wasn't. I felt like it had a pace to it that really generated excitement, and my gosh, some of that has to be location shooting, obviously, and that place is beautiful, wherever it is that Will and Lyra are at the beginning. I just thought, I want to live there. And then, we can talk more about that in the book section.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
We want to know what you thought about the trailer, too, though. And I did put out a poll this week, just to make sure that many people were in line with the way I was feeling about it, saying, what did you think of the His Dark Material Season 2 trailer, or Series 2, if you're from the UK side? Feel free to leave comments as to why. We had quite a few votes thanks to a retweet from our friend of the podcast, Lorne Balfe. Thanks again, sir, for retweeting us. And we got 88 votes total.
I saw that. I was like, we have 88 listeners? I was so excited.
I don't even know if we have that.
I don't think we do.
Lorne Balfe has 20 some odd thousand followers. So I would imagine that that's where the majority of these votes came from, was from his retweet.
We love all 12 of our listeners.
We love all 3 of you. We really do.
2 of them being us.
2 of them being us. Actually, that is 88,000 votes. If you go by the way that Catfish and I were doing our polls, for Delightfully Dreadful. 88,000 votes on the 1K Twitter. So 84.1% of you loved the trailer. 3.4% of you didn't like it, and 12.5% of you were kind of lukewarm about it. So just under 16% of you either didn't like it or were lukewarm about it, but most everybody loved it. We did get a comment from Michael VK. It's at Michael VK1 on Twitter. He's actually, if you check out his profile, he's an artisan. He actually makes props and stuff. And he says that he's one half of the science division of his Dark Materials, but I couldn't find anything of him on IMDb. So he's an uncredited guy, but that doesn't mean that he doesn't actually make some of the stuff that we see. So that's cool.
We appreciate your work, sir.
We do. And he says massively biased as far as this goes. And I'm assuming that he voted yes, he loved it. So
if one of our 7 listeners did happen to be that didn't like it in the lukewarm category, like, please reach out to us. I'd like to know y'all's opinion and discuss with you guys, because I know we seem to overhype and overlove this show sometimes, but that doesn't mean we're not open to the criticism. So please, let's have discussions. Let's do it. What else do we have to do right now? Not much.
Exactly. And you can do that by sending an email to dustpodcast@gmail.com, or you can tweet at TheDust010, at TheDust010 on Twitter. You can go to mattsaudioblog.com for all of those links. And don't forget that we are part of the Double P family of podcasts now, so be sure to hit them up as well for everything coming down the pike for them at the word double, the letters PHQ, on the Twitter, on Instagram, facebook.com/the word double, the letters PHQ as well, if you want to join up with their little Facebook page stuff. They do lots of fun stuff over there as well. I am not a Facebook person anymore, so don't try to find me on Facebook, more or less. But Holly, if people want to talk to you and hit you up directly with their thoughts about the trailer or what they're looking forward to or not looking forward to in season 2, how can they contact you?
You can find me on Twitter at HuntPants. That's the way it sounds. That's my Twitter handle, and I'm not going to say it today.
Wow. Today at HuntPants is not weird.
No, it's just these are unprecedented times. It's not weird anymore.
It's not weird at all. But we will have spoiler talk, including our knowledge of the books, specifically the second book, in regards to the trailer in just a moment after the end music. If you do not want to be spoiled, you can turn off now, or you can listen to our contact information and then turn off. See ya.
Bye.
Tweet at the Dust Podcast, email dustpodcast@gmail.com, and find all info at mattsaudioblog.com. Subscribe, rate, and review on Apple Podcasts.
Part of Double P Media. DoublePmedia.com.
If you haven't read the books, why are you here? Why are you here? Why? Go away. Unless you want to be spoiled about things that may relate to the season 2 trailer. You've been warned. Let's get into talking about this. There are so many things that, having just recently reread The Subtle Knife, that just instantly stuck out to me. There's one, I don't want to say it too much, but that shot of Lee Scoresby over the boulder just totally made my heart sink. I think that's a shot from Scoresby's his own kind of Alamo, so to speak, which he even references in the book.
It's so
it's
sad.
so sad. I saw that,
So sad now.
and I thought, God, that's awful. To think that we're gonna have to live through that, and I think about that. I wonder how much of that conversation between him and Hester as it's going down.
Oh no, I'm going to cry already.
I mean,
Shit.
all of this stuff. I want to get all this out of the way so that we can be just a puddle of mud, by the time we're talking about the rest of it. But that just totally got me. There was one shot that I totally did not recognize, though, as a book reader. Maybe I missed it in my rereading, but this whole business with MacPhail and all of these other priests of the magisterium, I don't recall that from anything. Do you?
No, I think this just kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier about just getting more sides of the story that we get in the book, because we don't have their perspective in the book unless it's, I mean, occasionally he kind of changes who the scene is focused on, and sometimes it's just for like a really brief period for like a witch in one scene or one chapter, and then we kind of move on, but we never really see the just the magisterium side unless we are looking through the eyes of Mrs. Coulter. Maybe that scene is just them planning their attacks and like looking for Lyra, and it's the magisterium's forces that are. We were just talking about Lee. Maybe it's their plan they're planning to attack, like that stuff coming up. That's gonna the other side of that Lee battle is maybe that's what they're prepping for. Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, it could be, and it could even be part of the ritual where I don't know. Now that Bolvangar is destroyed, do they already have soldiers that were separated from their demons? Because that's the only way that they can go around in Chitagaze, right? Without the specters coming to get them. So here's another question that I have. What was that figure that we saw with the hood on it? Looked like it had kind of a golden kind of face. Because I don't think it's Angel, simply for the fact that the angels are supposed to be more like light. You can barely see them, correct?
Yeah, I never really got a great glimpse of that hooded figure, so I think I just assumed it was a witch.
Oh, maybe that is the case.
It may be. I'm not. Like I said, I'm not terribly sure. But I agree. I don't think it's an angel. But they also, because of the way the angels are described in the books, they might have to make them look a little bit different, because if you could barely see them, then how are they going to portray that in the show?
They give them the transporter effect from Star Trek. Yeah, that's what they do.
Okay. Yeah, that works.
No, I don't know. But that's a big mystery to me. I'm trying to figure out what that is. And the Magisterium were the two things that just kind of went, boop. I thought the tower and all of Chitagaze that we saw, I thought all of that looked fantastic. I can't wait to see that in the full context of the story, because that looked amazing to me.
Definitely. Yeah, a lot. I could not speak up earlier when you were going through those trailer bits, but people about to fall through a window. I'm like, oh man, that fight with Will just to get the knife is so intense in the books. I can't wait to see it. And then all the
I wonder
shots
who they got to play Tulio.
Yeah, I don't know. They didn't announce that casting, which is sad. But I guess it's kind of a spoiler, so because we don't really know much about that character, right? Until we see him for the first time, we just know he's Angelica's brother.
Yeah, I think Lyra sees him one time up on the cliff, and that's it that we see him until they get to the tower. On the other hand, his little sister we see a lot of in the books, and I think that she was one of those two girls in that one shot.
Okay.
That's what is her name? It starts with an A.
Angelica.
Okay. What were some of the great things about in relation to the books that you saw or didn't see?
Okay, well, I'll admit I was wrong about what you said you think was a witch going down the hallway. My first my first initial thought was that was a specter, even though we're not supposed to be able to see specters at all. But just the way it like looked like it rushed. It looked like it rushed not Angelica but Paula, and like she like fell over. I don't know. She's not old enough, is she, though? So I don't know. It looked like she ran it like this. Something ran into something that could have been almost an adult and killing her. And I was like, oh, God, that's a specter. Like, that was my initial thought. But I'm pretty sure that's wrong. And you're right. It's probably a witch doing witchy things.
I think that's Serafina actually coming to take out that one witch who was begging for death very near the beginning of the book.
Yeah. Okay. I think I had that, just picture that scene in my mind differently, so I didn't make that connection.
Well, it's so fast.
Yeah,
too.
it's very
the
fast.
shot is really fast in the trailer, so I think that's what that was, but I'm not going to swear by it because, I'm often wrong, folks.
Yeah.
You have to know that I am often wrong. You've got this in your notes, and I want to talk about her for a second. What did you think about the casting of Mary Malone?
I don't know this actor at all, but I'm just very excited to see this character on screen. It's going to be so exciting. Well, at least for us, because we know her role for the whole series.
Correct. Yeah.
But yes, just hooray. Lyra's got a new awesome adult friend to help her out and take care of her. And that's exciting to me. And the cave, the stuff, you could see the cave, like that was really cool and exciting. I can't wait to see the computer talking, the dust in the computer, like talking to her, like the dark matter or whatever we want to call it. I'm very pumped about this character and can't wait to see more from this actress.
I agree. This whole idea of this relationship between dark matter, between what Lyra's world calls dust, and the idea of consciousness of it. I guess it's kind of implied through the alethiometer in the first book, but you really get a sense of the physicalness, just thinking of it like dark matter. That helps put it in the context of my astronomy fascinated mind. I really like that. And the fact that it's sentient, or at least conscious, that is intriguing to me. When I reread this time around, I was just like, oh, wow, this is really cool, and it all made a whole lot more sense to me this time around. So I can't wait to see how they try to do some of the explaining that Pullman does in the second book in the show. I don't want it to get too expositional, but I also want it to, really hit home to the viewers that this is something that is real, no matter what.
Yeah, no matter which world we're in. I think that's kind of the appeal of the whole book, like the books in general, is that we get the vantage point from what would be our world and how this could really be. And so we can imagine our demons, and maybe if we look in a certain way, we can actually see them. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself, but yeah, super excited. Serpent Lady, bring her on.
You were asking a question about something in regards to the angels, though, in our notes here. What was that?
So, just are we going to see them by the end of the season? And maybe a caveat to that question is, do you think that they're going to maybe mesh some book 3 stuff into season 2, kind of like they did with introducing Will in season 1?
Well, there's a couple of interesting prospects of that. Do we see where Mary Malone goes? Or do we, as far as the angels go, I think we kind of in the second book get an idea of them because Rudy Scotty sees them.
Oh, that's right.
And chases after them to go to Azrael's world, or wherever he is building. She comes back and describes this monstrosity of a place, right? That he's built in order to wage his war. Somebody even makes a reference of maybe he messed with time or something in a way in order to have the time to build all of that, because he hasn't been gone any longer than Will and Lyra, really, just maybe a little bit of time. So he has to have messed with time. That's why I feel like we're really going to miss out on having that Azrael standalone episode.
You're right. And now, as you were talking, I was like, man, that might really hurt the season a little bit, especially if they, I don't know, maybe depending on where that episode was going to fall in the season and where they introduce the angels. So maybe we see angels with Asriel in that episode if it's like in the middle of the season, but then we meet oh no, here we go. Baruch and Balthamos. Ugh.
Yeah. The double B's.
The double B.
Baruch and Balthamos.
Oh, okay. Damn, we are officially double P now, aren't we?
Yeah.
All right. I'm officially double H in that case.
Yeah, I'm double M.
Okay.
What else? What else you got on you?
Don't remember if I said this on the podcast, but I'll admit it. I was like, where's Yorick? Completely forgetting he's not in book 2 at all. So pour one out for no Yorick in this season, most likely. Unless they decide to surprise us for some reason.
Yeah, they could bring that scene with Serafina and Yorick into the end of the season, I suppose. If they wanted to kind of a denouement for boy, it'd be really macabre to end a season with Yorick eating Lee's remains.
Oh, wow. I wouldn't think that would be the final shot, but definitely final episode of the season material. I think the final shot will be something to do with the knife, I'm guessing. Maybe Will... Oh, no, he doesn't. Does he use it? He doesn't use it, does he? Yes, he does.
In the book, he actually uses he gets a pretty good mastery of it, and he uses it to steal the alethiometer back from Boreal.
Oh yeah. My God! Okay, take my book reader card away from me right now.
Revoked.
Fired.
They all, the funny thing is, because I started reading book 3 again too, and it's all running together for me too.
It happens so easily, and you can't just read the first book and then not just continue reading. So it's always been kind of a mess for me in that area. So Joe Perry dies. He finds the angel. That's basically the end of the book. Ugh, I don't like that. No, I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do for the ending. I hope it's not that sad.
Well, a great cliffhanger is, I think, would see Mrs. Coulter, holding Lyra in that cave.
Okay.
Back in their world.
Yeah, like he figures it out and then he finds that she's missing.
Yeah.
Okay, which is basically how the book ends.
There's a lot of drama at the end of that book with Lee and Hester, with John Perry.
That's all I can think about right now. Those are the things that are standing out, so I can't remember all these other details. So I apologize.
Yeah, well, we'll end it where we began, maybe, because, why not be all macabre and just be mourning the dead before we've even seen them on screen?
I mean, and what are we so worried about? Like, it's not like the last season is going to be 10 times more sad than what we're watching right now. Oh my God. Like, I'm worried about what's coming and then thinking about the next stuff. And I'm like, oh God, like every episode's going to be sad next season.
Oh, you had to put it that way, didn't you?
I did. I went there. We're going to just be crying. We're just going to be crying nonstop through season 3.
Yeah. Anything else, or should we just go home and cry?
I think we should just go home and cry because that's all I have in my notes, too. Is just being sad about about Scoresby and John Perry. Oh, it's so sad. We're going to just get so little of Andrew Scott. But I guess we'll get him back as a ghost in season 3, so...
Yeah, that's true. I'm really interested to see when we see him in the flesh how Andrew Scott's going to do this with him and Lynn. It should be real fun.
Yeah, and his role really wasn't very big in the books. Like he was, but like he didn't have a whole lot of dialogue or lines. And that's the surprising thing about Phoebe Waller-Bridge's casting too, is I cannot really remember much of her dialogue at all. Like I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you much of what her dialogue was about right now. So that's just more stuff that the show gets to expand on, and I'm looking forward to it. So in a way, even though I've read these books, the way they shoot the show a little bit differently. It's like a I don't know. It's like a surprise. I don't know exactly what I'm going to get, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to like it.
Yeah, me too. There is one question that I have after reading the second book and seeing this trailer.
Okay.
Of course, John Perry is Stanislaus Grumman, and he has a demon. And so in the book it says that when he came across to Lyra's world, suddenly he had a demon. It's like his soul left his body and just became his demon. Why doesn't the opposite happen when, like, Boreal and them come to our world?
I don't know. Maybe because it's already physically there and you can't
shove it back
unmake it. Yeah. I don't know. That's unanswered questions. Oh, and I'm gonna butcher this word. Trepanning. Trepanning? The thing with the skull and the head and the holes and the skull heads.
Yeah.
How much of that do you think they're gonna go into that a little bit and talk about that? Do you want to see a hole in Andrew Scott's head? I kind of do.
You kind of want to see a hole in Andrew Scott's head.
I mean, like, it was a fascinating. I was fascinated by that reading the books, like just how far he went into this tribe. And John Perry is fascinating to me because he comes from our world, goes to a new world where there are animal demon soulmate friends with you for life. And then not only he gets an education, he does all this exploring. He becomes Stanislav Grumman. I'm going to butcher that name too. He becomes basically famous in two worlds. And then he decides to, like, join this tribe and do all this, like, it's just extra. It's so much extra stuff that he did. He left a family behind and did the most with his life and made some really interesting choices and sacrifices. And I wonder how much the show will cover that.
That's an interesting question. One of the things about the books with the trepanning that I thought was really interesting was that it implied a cycle. You know, that those skulls in the museum were actually much older than when Lyra talks in the alethiometer. And Mrs. Coulter speaks about, Lyra's going to be the next Eve, and I got to do something to stop this. She won't fall the same way the first Eve did. Is the universe just in this cycle that repeats over and over and over again?
Well, now I'm thinking about Dark again while thinking about this show, which already happened to me once today when I was thinking about the three questions that now we're going to talk. Sorry, listeners, we have moved on to Dark, specifically season 3. If you haven't watched that show, apologies.
Wind and Caves podcast. That's where Bubba and Tiny take it all to the extreme of asking the questions. Wind and Caves. So with all of that talk, we will bid you farewell for now. We will be back to cover season 2 of His Dark Materials on BBC/HBO. I do not have any idea whether they're going to do it the same way they did last time, Holly. I haven't checked into it that thoroughly. I would imagine that BBC will still retain the rights to keep their show on a Sunday night, even though it would still be airing like 6 hours before it would on HBO. I'd imagine that it's going to be another Sunday night, Monday night kind of thing, simply so that people can get it on their iPlayers the next day in the UK before HBO ruins their lives. That would be my thought as to how they're going to do this.
That's totally fair. I was totally fine with this last year too, with UK getting to see it before we do. I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Once again, Bad Wolf Productions is the main production company. That is Russell Davies.
Yes.
Anyway, we're going to let you go. You can reach me at The Dust Podcast, or you can send emails to dustpodcast@gmail.com. You can go to mattsaudioblog.com for all of that information. Or if you want to hit me up personally, I'm at Musical Concepts. If book readers want to hit you up, Holly, and remind you about what's actually in them.
Book readers. Book readers.
How can they reach you?
Please, book readers, book shame me on book Twitter at Hunt Pants. I promise I have read the books. I also promise that I'm just fuzzy on a lot of details because 2020 has been hard. And I'm sorry. And I have been the listener that's been frustrated with the podcast host for not remembering all of the dumb details. So please, you direct your anger at me. At Hunt Pants.
And we'll end it because it's weird.
Oh, is it?
Bye.
Goodbye.